I built an AI agent that handles production alerts. It reads the alert, figures out what actually broke, and sends a summary before I've even opened my laptop. And unlike most AI agents on this platform, this one is designed to survive real production traffic. Bad data, failed API calls, all of it. I fix broken automations for a living, and the full template is free in the description. If you appreciate this type of content, let me know, and let's get to work. Real quick, since this is my first video, I'm Noah. I got my bachelor's in IT software engineering. I've spent over 5 years in production support engineering. I'm currently a senior production support engineer at a healthcare tech company. I'm the person who gets paged at 3 in the morning when an automation dies. I've been on incident calls where everything is on fire and nobody knows why yet. So while most channels show you how to build an AI agent, I show you how to actually fix them when everything breaks and how to keep them alive. So that's the lens for everything on this channel. All right, so why production alerts? Here's the thing that nobody tells you. The first 10 or 15 minutes of an incident, it isn't actually solving the problem. It's figuring out what's going on, what system, who's impacted, and is the issue even real? So when I run incidents at work, the triage process is where all of the chaos lives. And it's almost entirely pattern matching, which means it's exactly what a large language model is good at. So the agents we're building today do the triage for you. An alert fires, the agent reads it, adds a little bit of context, and it sends an alert to Slack with your next suggested first step. Now, let me show you the build. The shape of it is simple. A webhook trigger that catches the alert, an AI node that classifies it, a step that enriches it with context, and a router that decides where it goes. Quiet log for noise, Slack summary for real issues, an escalation path for the scary ones. Let me walk you through it on screen now, piece by piece. Right, now we get to the fun stuff. So over here we see that we have n8n pulled up, and we have an alert triage agent, an alert triage agent heartbeat, and an error handler. If we click into this first alert triage agent and we look at the editor, we can see the flow. There's a webhook that's the front door always post. Classify alert AI, parse AI response, enrich it, route it by severity, and then we can, if it's a real issue, we can post summary in Slack. If it's critical, we can post escalation. If it's just noise, we can quiet log it. So if we come and look at the webhook, the front door, we can see we have a test URL here. We have method post, path alert triage, and respond immediately. This means the webhook returns fast and the rest of the workflow runs async. The alerting source doesn't wait on you. So if we listen for a live event, when we grab this URL, we hop in the terminal, and let's go ahead and hit this endpoint. We can see that we properly captured it and produced an output. Quick break, everything I'm building today, the template, error handling checklist is in a free GitHub repo in the description and pin comment below. So you can have that open and running while you watch. All right, back to the build. All right, so let's keep walking through. So now that we understand the front door, what happens next, right? So we have to continue to go through the flow. So if we go into classify alert, we can see that we are passing over to Anthropic. You can use OpenAI. There's different ways of setting this up. But we can pass over text. We're talking to Claude, Haiku, 4.5, and I can see the system message. And it's telling the AI, you triage production incident alerts, given an alert service, environment, message, and error rate, respond with strict JSON. The severity, is it a real issue, summary. And then we can see from here, we want to go ahead and we want to parse this response, and we want to walk through and make sure that we can go ahead and do some regex and make sure that this is readable information. So that way we have the best chance when we come to enrich it, and we can make sure that we're looking in the correct places. We have orders DB, checkout API, and batch worker. So let's make sure that these runbooks are in order. Finally, we can route it by severity. So when this gets passed over and it's saying, hey, here's the severity, is it a real issue? Is it just noise? Or is it critical? Where are we going to pass it to? Post escalation, post summary, quiet log. So, and finally, we can see here, this escalation policy for a critical example will be sent over to Slack. So let's go ahead and let's put this all together. So if I come back to this webhook and I hit listen for event again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to toss into the terminal a critical issue. 100% of write traffic is failing. So we can see that this output came through. And then let's click play on the next node. This would run automatically, but here in this test environment, we're doing step by step. And we can see that it actually did pass over critical, right? We can see this. We can see critical being passed over here. So if I parse the AI response and then we enrich it and finally route by severity, we can see that this flow pushes us over to post escalation for a critical issue. And now we can see it alerts out. And over here on our alerts demo in Slack, we can see it gave an at here. So everybody in the channel's message, there's a critical alert Postgres SQL primary unreachable on orders DB. And it gives a little bit more information. So we could also do some other types. Let's go ahead and trigger this again with a regular real issue. So if I click into this, I listen for a test event. I come into the terminal and let's put over HTTP 5xx rate above threshold. So unlike everything breaking, this should just be a regular alert that we want to be aware of. Here's some output and we can go ahead and put it through classify alert AI. And we can see the severity hint is a warning. Let's go ahead and parse the AI response. It's a real issue. Let's enrich it. Let's route it. And we see we hit this node, which told us a regular alert, and it did not at here, and it did not label it as critical. We can also do a noise staging alert. So to test that quiet log, let's come in here and disk usage above 80%. We can see that it's noise, and let's parse, then enrich, then route, and we can see that we have a quiet log. And I forget where I had the log set up to, to be honest with you. But you get the point. And then finally, we can go ahead and we can do a heartbeat. So we can listen for an event, and let's go into the terminal and let's do a heartbeat to set this off, and let's play it. Heartbeat alert is normal. Keep a live signal with no error indication. And then again, this should be doing a quiet log. And a few author's notes before continuing. The AI doesn't know severity. It's strict JSON prompt, the same logic that you use manually. Also, in this, there's a real bug that I caught. Claude sometimes wraps its JSON reply in markdown code fences. The first version broke on that, so that's a real looks done, isn't it, moment, which is why we need to plan for things that we don't expect. And enrich adds context the model doesn't have. So I mentioned the runbook links, but also static metadata before it even ever hits Slack. So let's finish this walkthrough with the retries, error workflow, and heartbeat. So let's go into the AI node. So at this point, the agent works, and this is where most tutorials stop, and it's exactly where production problems start, because so far we've only handled the happy path. Let me show you the 3 things that keep this thing alive when reality shows up. First thing, retries. APIs fail, rate limits happen, and if your workflow just dies on the first failed call, you don't have an agent, you have a demo. So this has retry logic built in, with a delay, so a hiccup doesn't become an outage. Second, an error path. When a step fails for real, the failure has to land somewhere and a human will actually see it, not vanish silently. I learned this one the hard way. At a previous point in my career, I helped clear a backlog of over 2,000 tickets, and a huge part of that pile being so big was automations failing silently for months. So nobody knew. Visibility beats cleverness every single time. Third and final, a heartbeat. If the agent goes silent, silence itself should page you. Because an agent that's down and an agent with nothing to say look identical until a customer tells you the difference. All right, so let's wrap up this walkthrough. As I said, we're going to jump into this AI node. We can come into settings and we can see max retries, 3, wait time before retries, 5,000 milliseconds. This Retries absorb the flaky API case, a rate limit or a hiccup doesn't kill the whole run, right? And we're going to do the same thing over here on these Slack nodes, right? Retry 3, wait 5,000. And what else can we check out? So as we previewed before, other channels will go ahead and see the whole setup of this AI alert triage, but then they don't think about real production issues and what happens when these don't actually come through correctly the way that you expect them to. They lead to 2,000 ticket backlogs, like I talked about, right? So in this case, we can look at this error handler and we can see we have an error trigger, format failure message, and then post that to Slack. So we can see that this alert triage agent is hooked up to the error handler and vice versa, right? So if I go into this alert triage agent and I want to parse the AI response, right? And if we classify alert AI, let's go ahead and remove the credential from here, right? So let's delete this. And then let's go ahead and try to trigger this again. So let's open it up. Let's start a fresh listen. Let's go ahead and open our terminal again. And let's do this. So we have an error that goes through, right? And so certainly we'd like to know about it. And then when we try to execute this, it doesn't, nothing happens, right? But if we come back over to this error handler and we execute this workflow, we can see that alert agent failed, node with error. And again, this isn't a demo environment and I'm clicking execute, but this shows you that we can go ahead and listen for a failure and make sure that we're still outputting to Slack. And then finally with this heartbeat, it's good if an alert never goes off, but maybe that's because whatever you're alerting with, maybe it broke. And so we want to actually check that these things are alive, and adding a heartbeat is a good way of doing that. Again, this is a demo environment. So in all cases, when we come over to Slack, it's going to be stale. Alert triage agent has been silent for 2+ hours. Go and check it. But this allows us to proactively watch for alerts that are going to fail before we have those big backlogs that back up. All right, and that's it. That's the difference between an AI agent that demos and one that can actually handle production alerts. Now, the template with all 3 protections is in the description below for free. That's right, free. And if you want a way to kill this thing instantly when it goes rogue, that's the next video, a kill switch for runaway AI agents. And you can check it out by clicking right here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.